Hi, and welcome back to Spherical Chicken in a Vacuum. Today, I wanted to talk to you about a paper that a lot of people sent me as a private message in the last few days. And I think it's an important paper, and I think it's worth discussing. So let's start. The paper is this: using bibliometrics to detect questionable authorship and affiliation practices and their impact on global research metrics, a case study of 14 universities. And please note that this is an uncorrected proof, so I guess it didn't go through peer review yet, or they're peer reviewing at this time. Take it with some little bit of caution because things can change, correction can be still made. This is not the final version. Okay? As usual, I like to start taking a look at authors and journals. And in this case, we'll start with this guy. This guy is Lokman Meho. Well, my pronunciation is probably way off, but he is the chief librarian of the American University of Beirut. He took a PhD at the University of North Carolina. He has 3,500 citations and an H index of 24. What does he do? Well, he works in a bunch of different fields, especially in mental health and bibliology, citation analysis, and number. Well, he's not been a very productive researcher so far because I think it's not his main job. But yeah, he works in this field. So okay, he's the first author. What about the second one? The second one is this guy, which is actually a sort of superstar. Eli Akl, professor of medicine at the American University of Beirut, PhD at the State University of New York, almost 150,000 citations, an H index of 107, which makes him like a superstar. Well, I don't know in his field, actually. In medicine, there's a lot of guys with more than H index 100, but still, these numbers are impressive. And he specializes on practice guidelines, conflict of interest, and especially meta-analysis, reproducibility, and research design. And if you have a look at this number here, the field-weighted citation impact, you see that is 363, basically. Well, this number reflects how much this person is cited in this field, and the average is 1. So his values are off the charts, way more than the average, which makes him, I guess, a suitable person to publish, to write a paper like this. Well, at least is not a beginner. Is basically his job. He's been doing this for all of his career, basically. So yes, we have a superstar today, and let's also have a look at the journal because it's worth it. The journal is this one, Quantitative Science Studies, which is published by the MIT Press. I put that green lock there because it's a green open access, which means you can read it for free, you can publish for free. There's no cost for authors or just viewers. This is a sort of special type of open access, my favorite type of open access because it doesn't involve any cost. But please note that the editors of this journal were the editors of the Journals on Informatics, which was published by Elsevier, and at that time required a fee of $1,800 for open access. So it was a like gold open access. Of course, you could also publish in a what was it called, subscription way, so in which authors don't pay but viewers need to pay or institutions need to pay for a subscription. And what happened is that the editors decided that since their topic is important for a broad viewership, they decided that that fee was high and made information not accessible. So they decided to quit and open their own journal, and they are backed up by MIT Press. So I like it. I like it very much, and I think this makes this journal not only suitable for this publication, but also reliable. Well, the editorial board seems reliable to me, which is another good point. So we have authors that are used to this field of study, and we have a journal which is solid, I guess. Still, it's a not peer-reviewed article, but it's still worth discussing, I think. Okay, also because it made it to the news recently. And let's have a look on how they selected their universities. Basically, they put four rules. Well, the rules are a little bit more complicated. Please read the paper if you want to have the full story. But basically, the rules were they selected universities with more than 2,000 publications in the years between 2019 2023. Then they selected the universities that have more than 1,000 papers in 2023 alone. Then they selected the university that had a growth rate of published papers that far exceeds the average. So they publish much more than the average, and they increased this number much more than the average. And they selected the universities they saw a decline in first authorship of more than 15%. All these rules apply together, of course. And they put a special attention on hyper prolific authors. That is not a selection rule, but it's worth mentioning. Authors that have more than 40 publications per year, so people that publish a lot, almost 3 times what I'm able to do here. Well, we will discuss about it later. I want to show you where these universities are located. I will not mention them. You will read the names. I think it's not very important. So don't fixate too much on the name of the universities, okay? But the location is sort of important because, as you can see, they are located in a sort of limited geographical region and mainly concentrated in two countries that account for 11 out of 14 universities, which is Saudi Arabia and India. Okay? And why? Well, I guess it's because these are emerging countries that need more visibility on an international level, so they are pushing to publish more, to gain more visibility as both countries and institution, but I will go back to this topic a little bit later, okay? So, what did these authors find? Let's start from this graph, which is interesting. Here you can see in blue the number of published papers in 2019, in red-orange the number of publications in 2023 of these universities compares to Princeton, MIT, Caltech, and Berkeley. And you see that all of them see an incredible increase of at least 100% by what it was requested, but up to 1,400%. It's amazing. If you compare the blue and the red lines, wow, it's incredible, especially if you consider that Princeton, MIT, Caltech, and Berkeley did not increase that much, even if they feel the same pressure to publish that all the academic world is feeling at this time. So, yeah, impressive growth. And in one case, they were even able to publish much more than MIT in 2023, which is also amazing, which is amazing by itself, let's say. And the others, all of them more or less can be compared with Princeton or Caltech. Well, more or less, okay? So yes, they increased a lot. They increased in a few years, and this is suspicious. Maybe this is strange. This is unusual. Let's say it's unusual because usually it takes time to get enough funding and to start these programs and projects, and these projects grow slowly over time. It's like gardening, basically. You need to plant a seed and wait for it to grow. Well, another thing that it's worth mentioning is the type of institutes. Half of them, a little more than half, are private institutions, a little bit less are public institutions, but all the public institutions are from Saudi Arabia, all the private institutions are from the other countries, which is interesting if you look at the increase of the average number of publication per year, publication in 2023 from the country. And you see that Saudi Arabia saw a good increase in percentage, more than 100% increase in publications in 2023, from 2019 to 2023, obviously, which means that In the case of Saudi Arabia, it's probably some new government's policy. It's a national push for research, push for publishing, where in the other case, it's private institutions that decided to invest because they need more visibility. India is growing so fast, and for example, India is growing so fast, and the research institute need to have more visibility, need to be comparable to more famous, historically famous institutes that are also growing, but much more slowly. Okay, let's have a look at the number of first authors. First authors should reflect the number of researches that are actually mainly done inside of the institute, because first authors, corresponding authors, and last authors are actually usually the ones that are more involved into the specific research. You can be an author because you collaborate with another institute, for example. This doesn't make the research your research. You are collaborating on the research of someone else. So it looks like these institutes are more and more collaborating with other institutes, but not as the main research institute of the team, which is a strategy, I guess. And all of them are decreasing, but please also notice that Princeton, Berkeley, MIT, and Caltech are also slowly decreasing. So this is a global trend, probably, and it's stronger in countries that are in need, or in institutes, sorry, in institutes that are in need or want to emerge at an international level. Okay? Then let's have a look at the number of hyper prolific authors, which is those authors that can make more than 40 publications per year. They are, on average, increasing, which is, well, they are more or less stable in the control group, but they are more or less always increasing in the study group, which is clear from this graph. But also, in many cases, many of them were recruited recently. So there's this also proves that the institutes are investing money to acquire people that can push, inflate the numbers, inflate the bibliometrics of the institute itself, which is not what is happening in the control group, apart from maybe Berkeley, which saw an increase. But it takes money. It takes money to acquire these researchers, and it's not always that these researchers are researchers that do high quality stuff. Some of them sometimes just bend the rules. But yeah, I'm going ahead on myself, and also this is my personal opinion. Is not something that you should consider like science. Okay. Next one. How many of these papers actually make it to the top 10% most cited papers between 2019 and 2023? Well, the numbers again are changing, and they are increasing, meaning that these papers actually do get more visibility, more importance at an international level. They get more citations. This doesn't mean they are better research. I mean, it should mean that, but actually there are many ways also to control the number of citations you get. There are some hot topics, there are some reviews that can easily get more than average citations. So, but yeah, these numbers are increasing in the study group, and they are decreasing in the control group. So it seems like the control group is losing importance at an international level, the citation point of view, and the study group is gaining a lot of visibility, which I guess it's what the institutes wanted, right? And well, this was the last of the statistics that I wanted to present you. They all show a lot more in the paper. I strongly invite you to go and read the paper. You can read it for free. There's also some statistics about the specific major. So, for example, my major, material science, is one that allows you to cheat a lot on to bend, not cheat, bend statistics to in your favor. It's relatively easy to publish a lot and to get citations in my field. Well, it's a matter of fact. And there's also other statistics that are important. I just wanted to show you the ones that I liked, and well, we can discuss about this paper a little bit more in the future. But in discussions, the authors mentioned these few things. They notice a reduced first authorship. They notice an increase in multi-affiliation because, of course, if an author has 5 affiliations and he published one paper, each one of the 5 institutes can put a +1 in their numbers. So if you're into bibliometrics, just give away for free affiliations to a lot of researchers from around the world. I mean, like a guest professor, some of these affiliations are basically cost nothing. And there is a rise in hyper prolific authors that publish a lot, and there is inflation in the number of papers that are published, and there is more and more international research collaboration, which usually is good, but if it's just putting the names of the authors in a list of authors, it's worth nothing, right? And I agree with most of the contents of this paper. Actually, these are real problems, real situations that are not just limited to these few institutes, but there is a little bit more I want to discuss, because these, as I say, these are institutes that are in countries that are in need of more visibility. They want to grow, they want to show, they need to emerge in a world that is already sort of stable, right? So in order to, everyone is running. If you start running now, you need to do something special to to catch the other guys, right? So it's sort of expected that they need to do something. So the control of bibliometrics is something. Maybe it's not the best deontological behavior, maybe, but it's allowed because that doesn't actually break any rule. It bends some rules. It doesn't break any rules, and I don't like it. But of course, this is what they do. What did you what did you expect? And well, there's a lot of pressure for publishing, right? There's pressure even in Japan, US, Europe, everywhere. So, and of course, these countries receive more pressure because how can they compare? How can they keep their researchers inside of their country? Where if they are good researchers, they might escape. So they need to somehow do their best to increase their level, popularity, fame, anything, right? Which is a very important point. Another point I want to raise is that uh, the they point the finger again on institutes, but I like to point the finger to researchers because the behavior, the sort of deontologically questionable behavior, is usually related to just a few researchers inside of institute, and pointing the finger to the institute sort of blames everyone, while it's just a few people that should be blamed. And yes, institutes can put a lot of pressure, can hire specific guys that have deontologically questionable behaviors, but still, we should point the finger. We should make the researchers accountable and not make the institute accountable, because we can damage people that is doing their best, that are behaving in a correct way. And again, no rules were broken, just bent it, which is important. Then there are a few things that I don't like about the paper itself. And the first one is how first one is related to this image, actually. You see here 5 things that the researchers put in the discussion. I want you to think if you already observed these 5 things before, and I give you a few seconds to think about it. Wow, I don't know if you agree with me, but they look pretty similar to the filtering, the screening they did at the beginning. So there's no point of pointing out that there is a reduction in the first authorship when you selected the institute where there is a reduction of first authorship. There's no point in noticing that there is inflated authorship when you selected the institute with an inflated authorship. So it's sort of, I know it's more a journalistic cut than a research cut. There's no real I can say there's no real correlation that is made. They select some parameters arbitrarily, and they say that these parameters are bad science, but of course they selected them. So what's the point? That's a little of a bigger that's a little of a loss. Oh, notice please, I'm not don't how can I say, I don't work on statistics, so these guys are way more famous and better than me in this field for sure, so maybe I'm missing something. But if you put as a screening condition that you select only institute to see a reduction in first authorship, then you cannot claim that you observe in your sample a reduction in first authorship, because it's a tautology, it's a obvious, okay? Obvious. So that's what I'm missing. And the other thing is how they selected the control. And of course, they say in the paper, they justify, well, we selected some stable controls, blah, 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 blah. But they don't make sense. How can you compare exceptions with exceptions for extremely good level institutes? The controls should be representative. And those four institutes are not, absolutely not representative for the scientific community, for the academic world, for the average university. So, well, not a great choice of controls, I guess. Well, again, I'm not a statistic guy, so if I'm making a mistake, please let me know. Okay, I like to discuss, so let me know. Write down in the comments that no, Marin, you're an idiot. This is the reason why they did this, and they justify it, but I don't like their way of justifying it. Okay, I don't think it matters. I don't think this reflects. This is representative. Okay, so I think even the conclusions are not conclusions, and the controls are not good controls. That is my opinion. And there's another point. I spoke about personal responsibility and authors, and we should blame the authors, etc. And they point the finger against the hyper prolific authors and claiming that they somehow damage the publication system by themselves, because they inflate authorship. Well, basically, they bent the rules to make the numbers higher and higher, but they don't point the finger to specific hyperprophilic authors, which I found interesting, and it might be because, well, Hackle, one of the authors, it's also one guy that publishes 60 papers per year, and most of the papers don't see him as a first author or last author, but it's a collaboration. So in a way, I wonder if they're blaming themselves in this paper for the damage to the academics. But in the end, they correctly state that it's necessary to change the paradigm, to try to force institution and in countries, etc., to have a more fair, clean, transparent system for publishing and evaluating researchers, which I totally agree. This is absolutely necessary. There should be some policies. Actually, policies should not be necessary, because scientists should have a strong deontological, ethical behavior by themselves. But of course, that is impossible because we are humans, and humans are well, they like numbers, they like to show themselves, they like to compare with each other, and this system of bibliometrics is damaging everyone. We need to find a solution. Well, that is everything for today, and see you on the next time. Bye.